Welcome to Hope Natural Health, the podcast inspiring you to be your best version. Join me, your host, Dr. Erin, naturopathic doctor, dog mom, cancer survivor, and girl boss weekly as we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Welcome back to the Hope Natural Health podcast. Last week, we discussed what you should do if you're not feeling yourself. And this week, I'm excited to have a special guest here. I have Dr. Ryan, a physical therapist, who is going to talk to us about back pain. So when chronic back problems threaten to take his passion of surfing away from him forever, Dr. Ryan committed his life to uncovering its root causes and learning how to reverse them. Now, Dr. Ryan helps thousands of back pain sufferers a year to get back to doing what they love without pain. He created a unique movement retraining program called Core Balance Training that is highly successful at reversing back pain through increased core connection. So I am super excited to have him here today to talk more about back pain because I currently, as I was telling him before we started recording, I'm currently undergoing a back issue right now. So I'm hoping he can help me get over this back pain and then prevent it. And I wanted to share all of this with the listeners. So welcome to the show, Dr. Ryan.
Hello, Dr. Erin. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. So tell me a little bit more about when in your intro, like the back problems threatening to take away your passion of surfing forever. So a little bit more about your background and really how you got into what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so my back problem started at a really young age. I was like 16. I was in high school playing basketball. The first time that I was sidelined from back pain. I remember having to lay down on the wood floor of the basketball court. And that was just the beginning. And it just, over the next 8 years or so, it got progressively worse. And I had, multiple healthcare professionals giving me bad news. One chiropractor told me if I didn't change something, I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. My physical therapist, who I really looked up to, and he was my PT for years, told me that the goal was basically to try and hold off surgery for 5 more years because the technology wasn't good enough right now, and hopefully it'd be better by then. But basically dooming me for back surgery and telling me it doesn't really work that well. So, it got to the point where I was 24. I hadn't really been surfing for 2 years. That was my passion. So I was, kind of depressed and not really knowing what my future looked like. And so I decided I would just commit my life to healing my back. And then hopefully if I could do that, helping other people do the same.
Oh, that's awesome. So we'll get into the meat and bones of it, but you talk a lot about the deep core. So What does that mean?
Yeah, so the deep core just refers to the muscles that we can't really see. There's muscles underneath the glory muscles, like the six-pack abs and the back muscles. There are layers, and so there's 4 layers of abdominals, and so we target those deeper layers because they're closer to the spine and they better support the spine. That's actually what they're designed to do. And the superficial muscles, they actually are designed to move the body. And so, they get targeted a lot more because they are, vanity muscles. We can see them. It gives us pleasure to see the changes, but they are not the ones that support the spine. And they can actually lead to imbalances that can contribute to problems. Yeah.
So when you're doing your ab crunches and all of those things, are you working your deeper core?
Depends. Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody that has healthy, just neuromuscular control, they would have the deep core engaged and also, the superficial muscles. But somebody with a predictable pattern of muscle imbalances that it predictably leads to chronic lower back pain, they likely would have those deep muscles would be kind of, they would be more or less shut off. They would be inhibited to some degree, most likely, and primarily just working those superficial muscles.
So I think you're calling me out right now. How does someone activate or work the deep core muscles?
So it's got to start with low intensity, which is the hardest thing for the students in the program because,
Yeah.
naturally as humans that want to do the best for themselves, it's in most cases correlated with trying harder and working harder. But in this case, it's counterproductive, and the high intensity stuff directly focuses on the power muscles. The power muscles are on the surface. So we have to start low intensity. And so that's step one. And then really what we do, I didn't invent anything here. Depending on what you believe, God or nature invented our method, and so we just model after infant and baby development. And we model after how an infant first develops their core and then movement, and we literally just mimic that. And it is low intensity, and they have an incredibly strong core. I have a 3-month-old right now, and their arms and legs aren't really that strong. And it's by design that our core becomes the dominant, muscle group in the beginning of life.
Yeah. So what happens if someone like me, which you called me out again because I do high intensity training, not a whole lot. And I think that's what happened. I did a crazy 5 days of workouts, which were insane. And it was all high intensity. And guess what? I hurt my back. So how does someone like myself, and I know I'm not alone here, go back to, I guess, strengthening this core that your 3-month-old is 3 month? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
3 months,
well,
is already like
him. Yeah.
Or even yourself, like from your surfing injury, like how did you, can you go back and train or, build these muscles up? Like, or is it, obviously I'm sure you can, but
yeah. So I'll just tell you how we start in the program. And I like how you're just asking kind of for yourself because so many other people are in this situation. And so it's a good way for me to give answers is talking to one person, right?
Perfect.
So what we do in the program is we start off with breathing. And, there's a lot of talk about breathing and different ways to breathe. So we just teach a technique that kind of activates those deeper muscles, and it should feel really good. And so there's no secrets here. It's kind of a little different than what you might learn in a yoga class, but we teach actually to breathe into your lower back. So to send your breath into your lower back, and it requires abdominal activation to do that because you have to create resistance from in the front so the breath doesn't spill out your belly. So it is kind of contradictory to the way what you would learn like belly breathing in yoga, but there's a different purpose. And so this is to reawaken some really important muscles that are by design supposed to support your spine. And so that's step one. And then step two is we get down on the floor and we use the floor as biofeedback to feel. And I was telling you before the show, it's hard to put into words because we're actually teaching a feeling. And so we push away from the floor with certain things we call core anchors. And so that's really what's modeled after watching an infant or a baby develop. When they lift their legs and their butt up off the floor, or they're doing tummy time and they're lifting their head up off the floor, they're actually pushing away from the floor. It's more of a push away than a lift. And they're pushing away from very specific support points that are really valuable. And so we modeled after that. We do that for about 3-4 weeks. And then this is the key that kind of makes this solution more permanent rather than just temporary is we integrate this type of core connection that we've learned, we've familiarized through just doing it. We do it every day for 15 minutes a day. It's a 15 minutes a day thing. And you get familiar and then you apply that engagement, right? That connection. Because a lot of people are like, everybody says to, engage your core or flex your whatever. But I don't know how to do that. There's so many different ways to do it. So we learn it just the way through gravity and the floor. You get familiar, and then you apply it to whatever you're doing, yard work, dishes. And so your spine is supported not just during the hour that you're in the gym, but all the hours of your day. This is life training, not just it's not an exercise program. We're integrating into whatever you're going to do. So it could be a sport. It could be just gardening. So
Yeah. So it's kind of like you're training. It's the whole kind of a habitual thing. Like you're just training your body to do it, and then it just becomes a habit, and you're doing it all the time. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
the ultimate goal is for it to be your default movement pattern.
Okay.
And that takes a long time. So, default means that you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just happens naturally. And the program is only 3 months, and I tell students, you can't expect for that to happen in 3 months. That you might have been in this unhealthy movement pattern for 10 years or 20 years. We've had students 30, 35 years that dealing with back pain. And so, it's been going a long time. It's going to take a while to kind of shift your body's default movement pattern.
That's awesome. I didn't even know something like that existed. So you kind of talked on this about how we can prevent and treat. I would assume it's working on the things that you just alluded to, correct?
What do you mean
prevent and treat like lower back injuries.
Obviously
strengthening the deep core. I mean, are there other ways that we can prevent and treat?
Big time. The problem with that is it takes a lot of commitment to, even though it's only 15 minutes a day, to do anything every day, it takes a lot of commitment. And people that don't have back pain usually don't have, there are a few people that go through the program without back pain. They're like, oh man, this is awesome. But most people just don't have the motivation to do something like this. It's the pain. It's the daily reminder of pain that says, all right, I gotta, it's my alarm clock. I gotta do this, or I'm gonna be hurting today. But to answer your question, absolutely, this is full body, this is posture, and it would absolutely be ideal to do this in a preventative way.
Okay. How does footwear actually play a role in back injuries?
There's a lot of talk about, everything starts in the foot and it goes up the chain. I'm not actually in that camp. I actually more believe core out, but I'm also in the camp that there's multiple factors and influences on everything. Really, it's never just one thing. And so the feet do play a big role in the health of your body. And just look into the history of footwear. It's really evolved a lot to be just farther and farther away from natural. And so I think you believe in natural because it's in the title of your podcast, right? So we're just getting closer to design. And it's the same way that we're teaching core connection is moving towards barefoot. So it influences you because, when you have a lot of cushion or contours under your feet through modern day footwear, you're actually farther away from feeling the earth underneath you and the core or the earth connection, grounding. And our bodies use the feeling, the bottom of our feet have an immense amount of nerve connections. It's called proprioception, how it influences the posture of our entire body. And so it's just really valuable to have, be closer to design and be closer to barefoot. And it doesn't mean actually go barefoot. You can wear barefoot style footwear. And that's, we kind of have a strategy for moving towards that. You can't just abruptly switch. Right. That could lead to problems. So you want to kind of gradually move towards barefoot footwear. And a lot of people feel improvement in not just their backs, but their feet and their knees and their hips from doing that. So it's interesting because we get caught in the cycle of foot problems and then adding more support. And then you can kind of get trapped in there. But there's a lot of really positive results from going the opposite direction.
Interesting. What would you say are the worst types of footwear to wear for your back?
I'll just go out right now and say it. I think Hokas are really, really far away from the design that we're supposed to have, and also not only just having that mimicking walking on the ground, which would be no support and no contours, but also the variety that walking, say, barefoot gives you, because sometimes the ground changes shape or you're walking on different surfaces. And it's not just having something flat underneath you that's good. It's having variety that's good. And you put on a pair of shoes that has, a lot of support. You're walking on the same exact thing over and over for thousands of steps. That leads to repetitive trauma, no matter what shoe you're wearing.
So you just called me out again. I'm feel personally
I called a lot of people out.
Well, no, but guess what I just ordered yesterday?
Yeah, I believe Hokas.
Yes.
Yeah, so the goal is probably
I don't
for
wear
your
'em.
back or something, right?
Well, I was doing a lot of reading on them. I actually read articles about how they're supposed to be good for your feet. I guess you can't believe everything that you read, but
that's new. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? So now I'm like, great. But I won't wear them. I don't wear them all day as my prime shoe is, when I'm working in the office and all of that. But that's funny you said that. I was like, can you call me out anymore? Let's see. What else are you going to say that I've done?
I would recommend, Hokas are not inherently bad. So I would recommend using them in a way that could actually benefit you, which is just like what you said. Don't wear them all the time.
Yeah.
Wear them in the times when you know that, your feet don't have that stamina or endurance to go through whatever you're going to do. So those will give you the support during that, whether it's a long hike or just, you're going to be on your feet all day, at an airport or whatever, who knows, use it during those times. But when you don't need that support, you wouldn't use crutches when you don't need them, right?
Right.
Well, that's the same thing with shoes. It's arch crutches.
Yeah.
So don't use them if you don't need them. But if you know that it's this could make my day better, then that's when you use them.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's not inherently bad. It's just overused is what I would call it.
Okay, for sure. What I'm going to throw another random question in there, but why do you think that there is so much, why do so many people have chronic back pain?
Again, not just one single cause, but I think I'll name two causes that I think are really common. One, sitting. So I'm not going to elaborate on that. I think that's kind of obvious.
Yep.
And that relates into the second cause because actually, so I mentioned muscle imbalances earlier. So this is, just like if you see somebody with really bad posture, they most likely have this predictable pattern of muscle imbalances where certain muscles get tight, like the chest muscles get tight, pulling the shoulders forward, and the muscles in your upper thoracic, they get weak and lengthened. So it allows you to kind of curl forward. It's rounded shoulder, forward head posture. You could go through the whole body and categorize muscles by whether they are more prone to getting tight or more prone to getting weak and inhibited. And so that pattern is the same. Sitting is voluntarily going into this pattern. And ultimately what it is it's the fetal position. So sitting is one way, it's just lifestyle, right? But there's another thing where the body goes into the protective position because of stress. So say you have the most terrible stomach ache that you've ever had, or you got, you drank too much and you're puking. What are you? You're on the floor in the fetal position, right? So it's the protective position, or you're getting attacked, whatever, the most ultimate danger will often lead us into that fetal position. But what's a lot more common in our lives is low level chronic stress. Okay. So finances, family, whatever, politics, all the little things. And I think this is probably more common today than it was hundreds or thousands of years ago. And so, it's back pain is more common because when we are experiencing this low level stress, the body is not obviously pulling us into the fetal position, but these muscles that tighten, like we hold stress in our bodies, right? Where do you hold your stress? I hold mine in my upper traps and my hip flexors. I know that when I'm late for something, I can feel the tightness in certain parts of my body. So that low level, chronic level stress is actually gradually, we're holding in our muscles and gradually pulling us into the fetal position. We're not really super aware of it, probably not aware of it at all. I think that's another reason that's not really talked about. I didn't come up with that. I learned that from one of my mentors, and it just makes a lot of sense to me.
Heck yeah. That makes a ton of sense. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, we could talk about back pain forever, I think, but we'll wrap this up. I'll ask you one last question that I ask all my podcast guests. What would be your best or favorite health tip?
Walk every day and don't look at it like it's your job or your homework. Look at it like it's your human locomotion design. It's not even an option. You have to walk. And if you do that, a lot of things in your life and your health will get better.
I love that. Walking is so good. We had a conversation just a little bit ago about walking too. So I think I brought it up in another podcast I recorded today too. So walk.
Absolutely.
And it's like probably the best thing you can do for your body. I don't know where you live, but I'm in Arizona, and it is we're on our 19th day of over 110 degrees. So it's really hot right now, but I'm still out there every single morning with the dogs walking because, well, the dogs won't take no for an answer, but it's hot and it's still okay. You can get out there early or even go later at night, but you can't use the heat as an excuse, and it's hot. So
I love it. Get out there early. And again, it's not even an option. You have to walk every day. And
it's so good for you.
Yeah.
I feel like I said, I hurt my back last week, and I want to go for a walk. Like, I can't wait to get up after this and go walk because I feel better when I walk regardless.
While you're walking, try sending your inhale into your lower back. You'll have a little bit of tension in your abdominals. Those are your deep abdominal muscles, and those are the ones you want to kind of get familiar with. Yeah, and that'll make a big difference. You don't even have to do the program. That makes a big difference. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. You have a 15-minute masterclass that we'll include as a link in the show notes, which leads to a free 7-day trial of your Core Balance program. So we'll keep that in the show notes. What else did you want to touch on that we might have missed that would be important for the listeners to hear?
Gratitude for you having me on the show. Yeah, it's a really cool show, and I appreciate you spreading the knowledge. I think if there was one thing that somebody said, what is the solution to back pain? I would say it's education, because that's where you got to take responsibility. Nobody else can heal you, and if you can educate yourself, then that's step one to permanent solution to back pain. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's true. I mean, I learned so much, and I deal with back pain. So I really appreciate your knowledge and sharing that with everyone, and for what you do to help people, because back pain it's awful, and it can be debilitating for a lot of people, but just having that, you can heal from it and prevent it is, I think, so awesome. So thank you for what you do, and I appreciate your time here on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And with that, we'll see you all again next week.